There are stories that, once heard, leave you deeply unsettled. Henry Lee Lucas's story is not only horrifying because of the gruesome crimes he committed, but also because of the unanswered questions he left behind. His name remains a dark stain not only in the history of American crime, but across the world. Today, we will delve into the life, psychology, and horrific crimes of Henry Lee Lucas. This story doesn't just trace the path of a serial killer, it exposes the flaws in the justice system, the ignored warnings from society, and how a person can transform into a monster. Prepare yourself for a dark and chilling journey. Henry Lee Lucas was born on August 23, 1936, in Virginia. His upbringing was steeped in not just material poverty, but emotional neglect as well. His father, Anderson Lucas, was a railroad worker who lost his legs in an accident and drowned his sorrows in alcohol. Meanwhile, his mother, Viola Lucas, was a domineering, abusive woman who showed her son no love. Lucas's childhood, according to many psychologists, laid the foundation for the horrors he would later commit. Viola regularly inflicted both physical and emotional abuse upon him. She would force him to wear women's clothing, deriving a twisted pleasure from humiliating her son. His father was too powerless to intervene, leaving Lucas to endure these traumas alone. School life was equally brutal. Bullied and ostracized by his peers, Lucas grew up a deeply lonely child. At the age of 7, he suffered an accident that cost him his left eye. This injury further deepened his feelings of alienation and detachment from the world around him. Amidst his struggles with abuse, Lucas began dabbling in petty crimes as a form of rebellion. By his teenage years, he frequently ran away from home, committing minor thefts to survive. Yet no one could predict the monster he would become. Lucas's criminal career began with small-scale thefts, but things took a shocking turn in 1960 when he committed his first murder. His mother, Viola. During a heated argument, Lucas stabbed her to death. Was this an act of self-defense or a culmination of years of pent-up rage? Only Henry knew the answer. Following his arrest, Lucas showed no remorse during his trial. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, he underwent no form of rehabilitation during his incarceration. When he was paroled in the early 1970s, Lucas had evolved into an even more dangerous individual. Upon his release, Lucas immediately resumed his criminal activities. This time he targeted strangers instead of people he knew, setting the stage for his transition into a prolific serial killer. By the late 1970s, Lucas was traveling across the United States, leaving a trail of death in his wake. Around this time, another dark figure entered his life, Ottis Toole. Like Lucas, Toole had a troubled past and a penchant for violence. Together, they formed a deadly duo. Lucas and Toole primarily targeted hitchhikers. Their victims were often young women or solitary travelers. Lucas would lure his victims to isolated areas where he brutally murdered them before abandoning their bodies. Some victims simply vanished, their remains never found. Lucas claimed to have killed as many as 600 people during his spree, a number that remains heavily disputed. Some believe law enforcement attributed unsolved cases to him to close files. Regardless of the exact number, his crimes sent shockwaves through the nation. In 1983, Lucas was arrested for a traffic violation. What seemed like a routine stop led to the unraveling of a chilling criminal history. During his interrogation, he confessed to a handful of murders at first, but as the questioning continued, his confessions multiplied rapidly. During his trial, Lucas's behavior shocked both the jury and the public. With a calm demeanor, he described his crimes in detail, showing no signs of remorse. Eventually, he was convicted of 11 murders and sentenced to death. However, his sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment. Lucas's confession sparked widespread controversy. How many of his claims were true? Some murders may have been pinned on him simply to provide closure for unsolved cases. When Lucas died in prison in 2001, he left behind a legacy of unanswered questions and chilling mysteries. Henry Lee Lucas was not just a serial killer. He was a reflection of society's darkest corners and a reminder of the human mind's capacity for evil. His story is a haunting journey into the depths of human depravity.